excuse my voice. It's 4 games in 4 days. There's not a lot of recovery time, and not enough tea and honey out there to do something about it today. It's like this time of year as a coach, it's you're just running on adrenaline. We're pretty excited about making the tournament, hearing our name called, a culmination of a season that has had its ups and downs, but we finished it playing well. And, ultimately we wanted to, win a championship yesterday, but, we didn't get the job done, but we still got a chance to get some joy out of yesterday when we got our name called. Now we get to play in the NCAA tournament. This was something I said it yesterday that I changed my. I started parking in a different spot this year in the AD lot up there. So every day when I walked by to the office, I'd see that picture. And it was sitting there at the NCAA podium doing a press conference. It was Taylor Battle, Jeff Brooks, David Jackson, Andrew Jones. Like every day, I walk by it and I look at it. On the way back, I walk by and I look at it. And I told Taylor when we were texting yesterday morning that drove me. Like I wanted that. I wanted that for our guys. I want that picture for our guys and to have that feeling. And now they get a chance they accomplish that. And now they're getting a chance to do that. And they get a chance to put their own picture up around here somewhere.
Hey, Micah. Through the course of the season up here, you've talked about atmosphere at games in here. We've spoken somewhat about NIL. And to a larger extent, it seems like we're really talking about community broad support of the Penn State basketball program. To what degree have you seen an evolution of that, if at all, over the last month of your successes?
Yeah, obviously, like the easiest to see is the attendance at the games. Even Maryland, that last home game, and it was, spring break, it was still a really good crowd. So that is, obviously the easiest thing to point to is that and the excitement that was building around these guys. I was trying to garner some of that excitement earlier because I knew we had a really good team, right? Like we met as a staff this morning, and I told them, I was sitting in this same chair in the fall, leaning back the same way I do in those staff meetings, and I told them, fellas, we're sitting on something special right here. Like, I didn't know if everybody could see it. I didn't know if everybody could recognize it, but it was early in practice. Like, I saw the pieces that we had. Now, it takes a long time to get all that together, and there's a lot of things that go into it, injuries, illness, whatever, but I felt like we had something special here, so that's why I was pushing so much early, because I thought this team needed some help getting there. We appreciate all the support and everything here late in the year and how things came together. So, it's always a constant work in progress with every area of your program, and we want to continue to build off of this.
And so just to follow, at this juncture, obviously you have to wear a bunch of different hats in this job. You have what's immediately in front of you. Where do you see this in terms of the perspective of striking while it's hot, momentum for the program, and kind of moving this thing forward on a broader scale?
Yeah, I don't think you don't want to lose momentum. You want to continue to gain. You want to continue to do things, whether this helps us right, in recruiting, whether this helps us in NIL or marketing or whatever it may be, you have to build off of this, because this is the excitement level right now. And, as you're building a program, as you're growing a program, you can't take steps backwards. That's the biggest thing. You got to constantly be moving forward. And I'm not a guy that's going to be like out in front shouting and pushing and yelling and screaming. But we got to continue to push forward right now with what we're doing and with this momentum and how we're doing. Like, we got to continue to grow this program and build this program.
Coach, last year when we talked to you, we heard almost every week the whole gritty, not pretty thing. We hadn't really heard much of that this year. We finally seem to see it in Chicago. What do you think was so different about the way this team has played defensively just over the last 2 weeks?
I think it's been a little more back against the wall, do or die type situations, where that the toughness has really come out and really showed, especially late in games when we need stops, when we have to make something happen. Our guys have really been buckling down and doing whatever it takes, whether that's on the defensive glass, whether that's staying in front of people, whether it's taking charges, diving for loose balls. I think that's where we're at our best when our backs are against the wall. We should have been like that earlier at times. That's the thing that you go back to. But that's it. We got a tough group of guys, and they didn't want to lose. They didn't want to lose at all. They were going to fight and do whatever it takes to win. And now the challenge is you've accomplished hearing your name called in the NCAA tournament. Don't take a deep breath and don't take your foot off the gas. Now you have to play even better. Now you got to play even harder. Now you got to play with that same do-or-die mentality.
Micah, how crucial was the role of that believe mantra, and how do you guys plan on continuing to develop that mantra throughout the NCAA tournament?
I think confidence is such a big thing for college basketball players, for college athletes in general. And I say it all the time that nobody believes in those guys like I do. And they believe in each other the same way. I think that's the biggest thing, is they're trusting each other. We're starting to do our job, so the trust has been building for a long time. So now, like when we're talking in practice or we're talking in film sessions, like I trust them and then they trust me. So if we going into the Purdue game, I thought something made sense in how we wanted to rotate and pick and rolls. But the next morning when I come back down, Fish says, hey, they think we should do it this way and it stays consistent. So I just ask them, like, what do you guys want to do? Because it makes sense to me, but I'm not playing. Right? You guys are playing. Like, that's the trust in each other. That's the belief that we have in each other, that when they tell me that we'll do it this way and we'll get it done, well, let's do it that way. Right? Let's do it your way, and let's figure it out, and let's get it done. So we believe in each other. We believe in our abilities, and we believe we can win every single game that we play.
And take a question from Ben Jones, statecollege.com. Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It's going really good.
That's good to hear. You've got 9 guys on the roster and the staff that have been to the tournament before. What do you think the value is in that? And also having some guys like Grady and Mike and even Nick Colella that have been in the tournament as a player, what sort of resource do you think that gives guys?
I think it's really helpful. Grady's played in a lot more games than Nick Colella, so I don't know if you and Mike Green also. Those guys played in a lot of NCAA tournament games. But the staff, like Fish has been there, Aki's been there. I've had a chance to coach in the NCAA tournament a couple of times. Like using that, really just to talk about our experiences, what it takes. But you don't want to make it any bigger than it is, right? There's a lot of excitement to it. We're excited to play. It's like we're playing a really, really good team. But like we've probably just played 6 NCAA tournament games in a row, and how those games were, how close they were, how each possession mattered. That's what an NCAA tournament game is. So we're prepared for it, I believe. We got to prepare for Texas A&M to, like I said, they're a really good opponent. But, I think our guys are going to be okay. And if they need any help, we got a lot of people that have been around it or coached in it or played in it that can help them.
Coach Strews, Jamal for Seven Mountains Media. This is a monumental moment in program history. But for you personally, what does this moment mean? You're a D3 player yourself. You're a coach that stayed up after games to clean up the locker room, to do laundry for the players. Like, for you personally, what does this moment mean?
I'm excited about it. This is, when you take a job, this is one of the things that you're aiming for. You want to get to an NCAA tournament, and we were able to do it here now in our second year as a staff. I'm just focused on trying to help our guys the best way possible, right? But how do you do that? You let them enjoy the experience, right? And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna enjoy this experience as a coach, coaching the NCAA tournament for the first time as a head coach. I'm gonna enjoy this experience. I'm also gonna be locked in and focused on what we're doing, but you got to remember that this is a long season. This is a grind. This started in June, us pushing for this, and there's a lot of other people that wanted the same thing and it didn't happen for them, right? So you can't take this moment for granted at all, because it's there's people that go when we were in our meeting, I told Grady, you take it for granted sometimes when you're at a program and you go every single year. You just expect it, and then you forget about how hard it is to get there. And that's what we've done. That's what we've accomplished. Now, like I said, we're not going to take our foot off the gas. We got to keep playing, but we got to enjoy this, and I'm going to enjoy it. I know my family was excited yesterday when we got a chance to hear our name called, and I was happy for them because they're a big part of this, and along with our players' families, our staff's families, and everybody else.
You mentioned your voice and all these games in a short matter of time. I'm curious, on the players, how is your team's health right now? How are they physically prepared for what awaits them, specifically when it comes to winter as well?
Yeah, well, we got it. That's my job to really help them manage it. Before we left yesterday, Greg had those guys stretching and moving around and doing stuff, trying to keep the blood circulating. What they needed before we got on the plane and everything else. They're doing stuff throughout today. We have a veteran team where you don't have to go 100% physical leading up to this game to be prepared. We can watch film, we can walk through, we can do breakdown of different things, and that's what we've been doing, right? You do that late in the year anyway. You're trying to preserve your legs and keeping your guys as fresh as possible. They know what it takes. They know what it takes physically, to be at their best in this game. Physically, it's gonna be another war. This is one of the best rebounding teams in the country. It's one of the most physical teams in the country. So we need to get ourselves ready. Everybody in college basketball's sore, injured, tired, everything else. Once we get to Des Moines, that adrenaline's going to kick in, and we'll feel okay.
Texas A&M's a team that a lot of people thought should have been seeded higher. I'm wondering, when you first saw that matchup, what were your first thoughts there? And then also, can we get an early scouting report on that team?
Yeah. I knew how good they were and what they've done in the SEC. I want to say like 15-3, something like that, going into the conference tournament, like being second in that league with those teams, right? There's Tennessee, Kentucky, teams that have been ranked behind Alabama, Auburn, and they finished second, right? That's a powerful message right there from the start. Buzz Williams has won everywhere he's been. He's coached in probably more NCAA tournament games than I've coached in games. So, that it's a tough matchup, right? It's a really tough matchup right off the bat. But you're going to get, like, everybody that goes into that tournament has earned their way in. They deserve to be there. So they're another team that's they're good. They're really good. I talked about their rebounding, their physicality. You see some familiar faces with Julius Marble, who used to be at Michigan State, transferred from there in the post as their starting five-man. He can score it with either hand around the basket. He can make jump shots out to 15 to 17 feet. Really good player. But their guards are electric. Wade Taylor is as good of a guard as we've seen all year. He's got speed. He can shoot it. He can get to the basket. Tyrese Radford's the same way, left-handed, and he really attacks. Dennis is another transfer that can shoot it. Coleman is one of the most physically imposing guys that we've played against. And then these dudes go to the glass. They just send a bunch of guys in. They all go to the glass. They're great at attacking the rim. They get to the free throw line a lot. And then they rebound. They rebound like madmen.
Coach Drews, out of the last 10 games, 8 of which you guys have either won or lost by a margin of 5 points. Is it you? Is it the players? What is it with this team that allows them to stay close within games?
It's definitely not me. It's those guys. They're doing a great job of doing what we need to do, right? And this is why I say, like, we've played NCAA tournament games, because that's what a tournament game is, right? You start out, you're feeling each other out the first few minutes, back and forth. Everybody's kind of get adjusted to what they're seeing from film now to in person. And the first media timeout might be like a slugfest, right? You look, it's like, man, it's like 6-6 or 8-8, something like that. And then some team makes a run. Then they go on a little bit of a run, and you look, and it's like 20-8. Something like that, right? Then you fight back in it. You hit a couple of shots, you hit a couple of threes, and you're clawing, you're back and forth. And the game is tight like the entire time. And then you get down to the stretch, and it's just possession by possession by possession. That's all we've been playing. That's all we've been doing. These guys don't let anything rattle them. Like being down against Maryland, being down against Purdue, until the horn goes off, we still got a chance, and they really believe that. So there's never a lead that's safe. Either way, we've definitely proven that here in our last 2 games. We got to be better down the stretch, when we have a lead, and we got to be just as good when we don't have a lead. So we're able to keep it close and then have a chance at the end of the game.